What's up, guys? Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic of today's video is sibling rivalry. So we will just be going into some stories about different issues regarding siblings. If you enjoy this content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like to support this channel, you can consider buying me a coffee. Also, I will make sure to put all of the relevant links and information in the description. As always, there are timestamps if you want to skip around. And yeah, let's get into it. Would I be the a-hole if I send an email to my half-sister? My older sister is estranged from us. She was the scapegoat and I was the golden child. I was a spoiled brat and I rubbed it in. She was still a great older sister. She was there for when I needed it and she protected me when I messed up. I didn't deserve that at all. She cut us all off when I was 17. She had written me a letter where she explained that she loved me, but she couldn't have me in her life without my presence reminding her of how crappy they were to her. It has been 8 years. I have respected her wishes because I had truly started to understand how horrible our parents were, and I am sure I will never properly get how bad it was for her. I have wanted to see how she was doing. I have heard about her from mutual friends, and I really miss her, but I understand why she wants the distance. She was always compared to me. She was constantly criticized about things that were not in her control. I was a little brat and loved how much they cared about me. They adored me while trampling down on her. It must have been hell, pure hell for her, and I was the tool used to hurt her. Last month, my boyfriend had a Zoom company conference. I was dropping off some snacks for him when I saw it was my sister speaking. It brought back a lot of memories. I really miss her. I really do. I have been thinking about her a lot. I want to send her an email asking her how she's been, telling her I realized how crappy my parents were, and apologizing for my actions and that I have cut them out of my life too. I just want to tell her that I really wish that she is happy and she was able to move past what hurt they caused. I really hope that she is happy and I want her to be happy even if I have no place in her life. Would that be too much? I talked to one of our old mutual friends who knew some of what went down, and she thinks that it would be too much and that I should just move on and forget about it. I still want to send it to her. I know it's selfish. I should just ignore all these emotions and let her live in peace. That mail could drag back so much bad memories, and I don't want to hurt her again. I still want to send it to her. That is what makes me an a-hole here, I feel. I want to try to text her when she told me not to. Well, that's sad. Shame on the parents for basically pitting the two against each other. If it were me, I would try to reach out. Understandably, she kind of cut everyone off, and I'm all right. I ran out of space, so my recording stopped. Had to adjust a little bit here, but let's continue. So for me, like, I understand her kind of dilemma. She doesn't want to disrespect her sister's boundaries, but she said that her sister cut them off when she was 17. She said she said it's been 8 years. A lot can happen in 8 years, and if it were me and I was like estranged from a sibling, I would feel good if they like reached out to me and also kind of like validated my feelings in the sense that she said she also has cut off the parents, and like I would want to rebuild that relationship. So I say it doesn't hurt to just reach out just once. Like, now if she overdid it and was like trying to hit her up and harass her, that's a different thing. But just like reach out once, just see, have a conversation, maybe ask to meet up or whatever. I would do it because I love my siblings. I couldn't imagine being at an impasse or something like that. Let me read some of the comments on this. So Have Plushy will talk says, not the a-hole if you send a caring email with no guilting or expectation of contact. She is within her rights to not respond or to reiterate her don't contact me boundary, but you're within your rights to ask, in my opinion, as the elder estranged sister of golden child siblings. She might never be okay to see you again, and that sucks, but that's not on you. That will be what your parents have put on you, the repercussion of having to carry like your sister carries her trauma. Wamsicles said exactly this, not the a-hole for wanting to make contact, but do it with zero expectations of her responding or resuming contact with you. She also won't be an a-hole if she reinforces her boundaries about being no contact. All right, I do agree with what they're saying there. Twilight Fall says this, but not the a-hole, as the parents will always be the a-holes here. If I may make a suggestion, though, open a Google Doc, write the letter you want to send, and sit on it for at minimum 1 week and see how you feel about it then, OP. If nothing else, you will have the catharsis of doing this much. That's a good idea. I do that sometimes, like to avoid making rash. Is it rash or rush? Avoid making rash decisions. I kind of like sit on things sometimes, so I think that's also a good idea. So people are essentially just giving her some advice on what to do. The general consensus is not the a-hole. And so let me go to her update. Update, would I be the a-hole if I send an email to my half-sister? I received a lot of very helpful advice. I wrote a short email telling my sister that I wished her well. I apologized for my behavior when we were living together and told her that I have cut off our parents and that I will love to be a part of her life if she wants me to, but I do understand it if she doesn't want to. I sat on it for a week and sent it to our mutual friend. She read the email and she said she had talked about it with my sister and she was willing to read it. Nothing happened for 2 weeks, but then she started to follow me on Instagram. I got so excited that my boyfriend was worried about me for a second. I have a photography page and she liked a really old photo, so I know she was browsing my account. She texted me a day later and we finally talked. That's so exciting. I talked to her after 8 years. It was pretty emotional and yeah, it was fine. She is coming over to meet me next month. I am excited for it. She hasn't really changed and it makes me feel terrible. The first thing she asked me was how they treated me after she left. I don't know how I was so terrible to this wonderful woman. It's funny, she ended up being the perfect daughter they wanted me to be, and I ended up being a bi-college dropout with a career in flighty arts stuff. Funny how that turned out. That is funny. So dang, does she have any other updates? Because that's the last one. This was 3 whole years ago. Let me see if she has any other. She doesn't have any other posts. Well, I am going to assume that it ended well, that you met up with your sister and now you guys have a great relationship. For my peace of mind, I hope it ended that way. So let's go to the next story. Am I the a-hole for praising my son differently than my daughter? Just a warning, there is a trigger warning on this post for homophobia. So, am I the a-hole for praising my son differently than my daughter? Throwaway account and obligatory mobile formatting apology. I, 52 male, am the father of 3 kids, 15 female, 7 female, and 7 male. The last 2 are twins and are very close, having the tendency to copy each other. I love and adore them all equally. My son is not a very masculine kid and is less interested in some of my hobbies because of this. He has always preferred whatever his mother and older sister did, like baking or dancing. I have no problem with this. I love him as he is, but to be honest, I'm slightly disappointed that we haven't had the kind of amazing father-son bonding that I got to have with my grandpa. My dad died when I was pretty young, when I was a kid. Since I'm at home almost all the time now, I've been seeing just how feminine his interests have gotten. Asking to help cook every meal, helping his older sister alter secondhand clothes, and playing pretend. He's even asked to have his sister paint his nails. I'm not upset or bothered by it, but it isn't typical for young boys. I've been working out at home instead of at the gym because of our current circumstances, and when my son came in while I was lifting weights in the family room, he showed an interest in it. He was excited about the idea of having big muscles and tried out some of the 5-pound dumbbells. Even though he mentioned being big like She-Ra from some Netflix reboot, I think, it was still progress in my eyes. and it seemed like he was showing interest in masculine hobbies. You say that you don't have an issue with his quote unquote femininity, but at the same time, you refer to him showing interest in masculine hobbies as progress. That doesn't seem like you don't have an issue. It seems like the opposite. Because if you didn't have an issue with it, why would you even be making this post? I praised him and did the whole, wow, you're so strong thing in kid talk to encourage him. When his sisters walked in, the twin, 7 female, joined in. Like I said, they have the tendency to want to do what the other is doing, so she expected the same kind of, wow, so strong stuff. When I wasn't as enthusiastic with her and focused on my son, my oldest got annoyed and asked why I was treating them differently. I explained to her that because he hadn't taken interest in these kind of masculine hobbies before, I wanted to foster his own identity as a boy separate from his twin sister. Oh man. She accused me of being misogynistic for this. She then said that I was the a-hole for making his sister feel weaker and implying that I didn't approve of his feminine interests. I don't think I'm the a-hole because there's no reason for my daughter to be inclined towards this kind of thing, but my son should be developing a more masculine personality as he gets older. I feel the rage welling up inside of me reading this because it's just not making sense. It's a 7-year-old. If he wants to help cook, if he wants to get his nails you're actually, if what you're worried about is him being feminine, your attitude and the way that you're going about it, it's probably going to push him further into wanting to do that stuff because your mindset and your attitude is going to be so pervasive in like every interaction that you have with him to the point where he's probably not going to like to be around you, or he's going to know that the only way that he can get attention from dad is if he does things that dad wants him to do versus things that he actually wants to do. And then it's going to be a complex, like it's just going to turn into this whole thing when you should just let your kid be a kid and you should treat them equally. Your daughter can be praised just in the same way as if she's lifting weights, there's nothing wrong with you saying, oh, wow, so strong. Like, you're making this a bigger deal than what it needs to be. It just doesn't make sense. And if it does happen that your son really doesn't like to do masculine things, oh, freaking well. You're talking about, oh, I want him to have his own, he needs to have a more masculine personality. Says who? Literally says who? You? That's what happens when people have children and they have their own idea of what their children should do, who they should be, what they should look like, what they should wear, the things that they should be doing. And when the children come out and they're not acting or being in the way that the parent wants them to be, then it's always an issue. And this is just so annoying. This is annoying. When she told my wife, 41 female, she also blew up at me saying I was acting like a cartoon misogynist. Both of them are pissed. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole? Yes, you are. He has 2 updates on this post, so I'm gonna read the comments first before I go to the update. Texas World, your daughter was right. This is very misogynistic. You've expressed outright disappointment that your son has predominantly feminine interests, which like, do only girls cook? Do only girls have imaginations? There's absolutely nothing wrong with things being feminine, but those aren't even girly girl things. Exactly. Also, why are you so against your daughter having masculine interests, which again is illogical? Women also lift weights. You're the a-hole for more reasons than one, OP. How about you do some introspection? I 100% agree with that comment. Deleted said, OP, you're the a-hole. I am a woman who lifts weights. I'm pretty pissed off at OP. J94MP says, being a gay man who has worked in fitness for years, this made me kind of mad just because I've seen so many women with unhealthy views about health, scared to pick up weights, drink protein shakes, or have a poor relationship with diet and exercise due to misinformation or poor excuses. He inadvertently gave her that experience that would have been a golden opportunity to get her started on a healthy relationship with her body, food, and exercise. It also made me upset for the son because through my parents and also trying to partake in activities straight men liked, there was so much gatekeeping that I rarely ever felt secure in any of my interests, and it led to a lot of self-esteem issues. Just love your kid. Exactly. Like, you're gonna create problems that shouldn't even be problems because it's too much. Pandas said, cooking is a feminine interest because only women eat. That's why the culinary industry is predominantly female. Like every famous chef is a woman, there are no male chefs. Same with fashion design. Obviously sarcastic. And OP responded to this thread of comments. Thank you for your comment, and you're very right. I made an edit to my post if you want more information, but I've apologized to my daughter and wife, and we'll be talking to my son once he's awake tomorrow. I'm planning on letting him choose something for us to do together so we can have some bonding on his terms. That's a great idea. That's a great idea, because rather than trying to push your son to do things that you want him to do, you need to figure out who your son is, what your son likes, get involved in what your son wants to do, and allow him to form his own identity and interests. So with that being said, let me go to his first edit/update on this post. Edit, hey everyone, I was 100% the a-hole. I appreciate that some people try to empathize and say not the a-hole or no one's an a-hole to be charitable, but I'm in the wrong here, and I knew it deep down while I was writing the post. Rereading it, I feel ridiculous for writing that all out. I want to say thank you because these comments were the objective kick in the butt I really needed. I realize now that I was really out of line for saying that and making my daughters feel that way. I set up a stupid false dichotomy, and my daughter was very right. I was being a misogynist. No excuse for that. I apologized to both of them and my wife an hour after I posted. I also shared this post with my little brother who, as I mentioned in a comment, was teased for being effeminate as a kid/teen, especially after he came out. I think some people took me mentioning that as blaming him, which wasn't my intention at all. None of my behavior is his or anybody else's fault. We talked for a while, and that, along with many of the comments you guys left, made me aware of how badly I'm treating my son. My grandpa, who raised my brother and I for most of our lives, was a manly guy who I've always idolized completely. Well, my brother made me aware that my grandpa in particular made him feel crappy about his femininity and his sexual orientation. He would regularly say degrading, terrible things. I was oblivious to just how much that hurt him, and it seems that I picked up some of these same ideas. I've been such a jerk for so long, and now that I realize how absurd some of the ideas I've held onto are, I know how much of a disservice I've done to my boy. I shouldn't try to make him change just to protect him from bullies. In this situation, I'm the bully as much as it hurts to think. I'm planning on talking with him about this issue and apologizing. If we can this week, I want to let him choose something that he likes that we can do together. I'm not going to make the same mistakes my grandpa did. At my brother's and some Redditors' suggestions, I'm considering trying out therapy or a support group. After a mistake like this, I think I ought to try to be the best dad and big brother I can be and work to stop thinking that way, especially when I've already done so much damage. I'm sorry about the extremely long edit, but thank you for your responses and helping me with the issue. I showed my wife some comments and she also thanks you all. And then he has a second edit. Edit 2, this will probably be the final update, but wow. I'm overwhelmed with all the responses. I wasn't expecting so many. Thank you to everyone. I'm glad you guys were honest, but still encouraging. I'm sorry I haven't been able to reply to you all. I got a lot of really kind and personal messages, and I want you guys to know I've taken it to heart. Some people asked what I'm going to do with my daughters since it seems like I focused more on my son in the edit. My oldest wants to try Krav Maga, so in the coming weeks, we're hoping to find a place that will accommodate both ages. Youngest daughter has wanted to try to learn how to roller skate too, so my 15-year-old may have to teach us both. I was able to talk to my son for a while this morning and apologize for yesterday. Talking about gender roles and all the trauma surrounding my grandpa may be something I'll talk to him more about as he gets older, but I got the message across that I support whatever he's interested in. I asked him about She-Ra. Some commenters told me that it's fun for adults too, and we watched a few episodes together. I don't know what She-Ra is. Oh, it's a cartoon character. Oh, okay. You guys were right. My oldest and I both thought it was very cute. I asked him what he would want to do together, and he mentioned trying to alter something. I brought down a box of my old stuff from the attic, and lo and behold, I found one of the 80s Hawaiian shirts my grandpa bought me, probably an effort to make me look like Tom Selleck. With some guidance from my oldest, we're going to try to make it fit my son with room for him to grow into it. I think it'll turn out nicely, and because it's really vintage, my 15-year-old loves it. So everything is pretty good right now. I invited my brother over, he lives a few hours away, for dinner so my son and I can make him something. I can't believe that I was feeling upset about him liking baking and everything. I'm lucky that my boy wants to help everyone. So I'm definitely the a-hole, but I'm slowly becoming not the a-hole. Thank you all. I showed my oldest some of my favorite comments and she thinks they're great, and I should expect a Clown of the Year award for a Father's Day gift. Oh, well, that is a very wholesome update. I feel like that ended in the best way that it could have ended. I was fully expecting him to like double down on his beliefs, because in the first initial post, it was really sounding like, there was no hope for the young man. But I'm glad that he took all the comments to heart, and he seems to be actually trying to change and take steps to become a better person, a better father. So that's great. That I should have read that last as a mood booster kind of thing. So let's go to the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister it doesn't matter how anyone else feels about my wife's assistant's dog? My wife and I live in a different state to my family. However, we often travel back to my home state for special family occasions, birthdays, and Christmas, for example. My wife is a 22-year military veteran, and when she discharged, it was medically. She had been diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and has spent several stints in psychiatric hospitals, one for 4 months. She was prescribed an assistance service dog who we have trained up under the supervision of a registered organization, and she, we'll call her Daisy, is formally qualified and papered. She goes pretty much wherever we go, including interstate flying in the cabin of the plane, with my wife in an ambulance to the hospital, and also was interned with her at psychiatric units. My family are all aware of this and mostly supportive. However, the last time we visited for my niece's 21st birthday, I was questioned by both my sister and my niece about whether Daisy was accompanying my wife to the party, which I responded that she was, and my wife really struggles in loud, crowded environments. There was about 80 people and loud music together in one room. My niece suggested several reasons why Daisy shouldn't go: loud music, balloons, lots of people, which I assured her Daisy was fine with, and they already know this, being very familiar with Daisy's very calm temperament. My sister then spoke to me after my niece and also said similar things, not outright saying, but heavily suggesting it could be better if Daisy didn't attend. I just said if my wife feels she needs her, she will be attending. Sometimes my wife has been able to do small things without her, but never big events like parties, even shopping centers and restaurants. Daisy comes with her. Anyway, the party came and went. My wife had to take 4 Valium to cope, but managed to sit through the evening with Daisy by her side, at her feet, at a table. Other people throughout the event went over to talk to her, and most didn't even notice Daisy was there. For myself, I'm used to my wife's conditions and knew that although she was struggling, she was coping and even enjoying talking to people at times. I danced the night away, periodically sitting down beside my wife and checking in. After the party was over, we had a few days at my sister's house where the topic of her son's impending wedding came up. Again, I was asked by my sister if my wife would be taking Daisy. Okay, let me just pause. I just don't understand the issue with the dog. It's not bothering anyone. It's not harming anyone. It's literally sitting at the owner's feet all night, just there. Like, I don't understand what their big problem is. Like, sister sounds like a hater. Again, I was asked by my sister if my wife would be taking Daisy. I again said yes, more than likely, for the same reasons as the 21st, lots of people, loud noises, and a crowded environment. Again, it was inferred that the event wouldn't be suitable for Daisy. The tables were really crowded, lots of people. Plus, my sister suggested that if my wife didn't have Daisy, she would be able to get up and dance. Before my wife had her breakdown, she was not a dancer, and now with her anxiety, there was no way she'd be comfortable out on a dance floor. I was so taken aback, I didn't know how to respond. My wife heard my sister talking to me, and so she suggested she only go to the ceremony and skip the reception to avoid my sister getting stressed out about her dog. My sister snapped, "They're at the same venue," then softened it with, "Of course we want you to come." Both my wife and I felt very uncomfortable and kept reassuring my sister Daisy would be fine, as she has been taught to sit under my wife's chair out of the way. It felt like the concerns raised weren't genuine concerns, but just a way to feel like Daisy was unwelcome. We flew back home not long after, and this is where I may be the a-hole. We woke up the next morning, and the first words out of my wife's mouth were, "Maybe I should just stay home for the wedding and you go by yourself so I don't stress your sister out by taking Daisy." I felt so bad for her. It's taken such a long time for her to feel comfortable going out in public, and Daisy has been instrumental in that. And now my family were making her feel like she wasn't welcome with her assistance dog. I reassured her, but later in the day, I rang my sister and told her what my wife had said, and that perhaps more care could be taken to make sure my wife wasn't left feeling that her conditions were not considered. I told her my wife had said perhaps she shouldn't go to avoid stressing her out, and my sister just said, "Yes, and?" Sister is an a-hole. I don't understand. To which I replied that she had been prescribed a dog for a reason, and without her dog, my wife would likely not go anywhere like she used to. My wife said, well, she was better last time she was down. I think he meant to say my sister said. She didn't take her everywhere. I explained that mental health goes up and down. Last time she was doing a bit better. However, she'd just been sick and was put on medication that messed with her regular meds, and so was only just coming out of that. Also, I reminded my sister the last time we didn't really go out apart from to a restaurant, to which Daisy also came. I just feel like I'm constantly trying to prove my wife's medical conditions. Even her PTSD has been questioned, as my sister's words. She didn't go to Afghanistan. What? Whoa! She even had her best friend question me about it. I'm tempted to tell them some of my wife's horror stories, but I just keep it general so they don't get secondhand trauma. My sister also said that she had to think about other people, and I said, why? Does someone have a problem with Daisy attending? And she said her son, my nephew, and his future wife had spoken to her about it. I said, well, I'll ring them then, which she hastily replied, no, you can't. They spoke to me in confidence. I said, I just don't understand what you are trying to achieve. And she said, it's not just about you. I have to think of other people. I said, well, you wouldn't be asking Nana if she was bringing her Willy Walker. And she said, actually, Nana might be in a wheelchair, so I'll have to put her at the end of the table. To which I snapped and said, yes, but you wouldn't tell her she's not allowed to bring her wheelchair. And she replied, I didn't say you couldn't bring Daisy. I said back that it was disingenuous to pretend that your questions aren't designed to make us feel like she shouldn't be coming. To which she replied that she couldn't handle this stress I was causing her, and she said goodbye and hung up. So, am I the a-hole for calling my sister out on all her questions regarding my wife's assistance dog? Am I too sensitive, like my sister said? Oh, Lord. Your sister sounds insufferable. You're not the a-hole, and I just don't understand what the issue is. Like, what is the issue with the dog? It's out the way. It's not bothering anyone. what's the issue? She doesn't even seem like she can really say she hasn't really given a plausible answer. So Vander 611, not the a-hole, stand by your wife. My suggestion with your sister is to set up a blanket statement. If you want me somewhere, my wife will be there with the service dog that makes that possible. If you question if the dog will be there, I shall take that as you questioning if I will be there and assume we have been uninvited as a group. Also, her son and his fiance didn't tell her anything in confidence or otherwise. I would catch her in her lie on general principle. Yeah, I don't think the son or the fiance said anything about the dog. If anything, she probably brought it up to them like, what do you guys think about the dog? And they probably, yeah, something is wrong with her. Ember Solaris said he should seriously call his nephew and ask directly so that he can call his sister out on her BS. She's probably one of those people that thinks that disabilities that are visible are the only disabilities and that Daisy's brand of support dog, i.e. not a seeing eye dog specifically, aren't real working dogs despite being shown how well trained she is time and time again. Which just doesn't make any sense. Like, what does that have to do with you? Why is it such a big deal? I agree though. I would call the nephew straight up and be like, hey, look, I heard you said this, and really get to the bottom of what's really going on. So there are several comments saying, call your nephew, call your nephew. I do agree with that. Literally everybody's saying, call your nephew. So let me go ahead and go to his update. So update, am I the a-hole for telling my sister it doesn't matter how anyone feels about my wife's assistant's dog? After reading the supportive comments from almost everyone, I ended up ringing my nephew. Firstly, a few clarifications. 1, I am a woman. It's a same-sex marriage, so I'm not her husband, but her wife. 2, her Valium is only 2 milligrams. She took 4 that night, which is 8 milligrams, which means she was nowhere near whacked out of mind, like some suggested. She has 5 milligram tablets as well, but prefers to titrate the dose herself in 2 milligram increments for precisely that reason. 3, yes, I was up dancing the night away, and this does not make me a monster. We rarely go out, and when we do, my wife loves seeing me enjoy myself and letting my hair down, as much of my life is in service to her and her conditions. She gets enjoyment from me having fun too. Plus, the dance floor was like 3 meters from where she was sitting, and I could see her watching me and smiling. Yeah, I didn't see any issue with her dancing on the dance floor, especially because she kept going back to check on the wife. People be mad at anything. 4, please refrain from calling my sister nasty names. Yes, she is out of line here, but she and her kids are my only immediate family and are very important to me. Going no contact would hurt me as much as her. Anyway, for the update, I rang my nephew and asked him if he and his bride had a problem with Daisy accompanying my wife to their wedding, as my sister was suggesting that they did. I said that while my sister hadn't directly said Daisy couldn't go, it was being heavily implied that she wasn't welcome. My nephew seemed kind of confused initially and didn't really answer the question other than to say he hadn't really thought about it. I wondered then if he was being cagey, so I asked him for his total honesty, and he said that when he spoke to his mom, then he stopped and said, actually, mom spoke to me. He also told her he hadn't thought about it. He then said he hadn't even asked his fiance yet. I knew it. I was spot on. I knew it. I figured it was the sister that approached them about the topic, not the other way around, and that they didn't even really care. Ha! I told him my anxiety was really high over this, and I just needed to know how he felt. And he said, I guess I just assumed Daisy would be going with your wife as they're kind of a package deal. I got quite emotional hearing this, and he told me not to worry, that everything must have been blown out of proportion, and so long as my wife was okay. He's always been a really caring kid, which is why I had my suspicions that my sister wasn't being totally honest. Anyway, we chatted some more. He told me to stop crying, otherwise he'd cry at work, and all his mates would laugh at him, which made me laugh. He said he'd ring his mom, so I guess crap is going to hit the fan. I have several stress-related conditions because of what I've been through, keeping my wife alive. So I really struggle these days with anxiety. I have Minoka and have had a heart attack in the past from stress. Takasubo. Oh, these are words that I do not know. What is Minoka? Oh, myocardial infarction with non-obstructive coronary arteries. Okay. I never heard it as an acronym though. And then what was the other one? Takotsubo, cardiomyopathy or broken heart syndrome. Ah, okay. Interesting. I never heard it with that term either, but that is interesting. Okay. I've been having really bad chest pain from this and stomach upset, so although I was tempted to tell my nephew not to call his mom, I need a resolution one way or another. The limbo is too difficult to manage, so I guess there will be another update. Well, this was 9 days ago. Let me go to her profile and see if she has any. Nope, she doesn't have an update quite yet, but I hope she updates soon because I really can't understand why the sister is acting like there has to be something deeper that, I don't know, something is up with the sister. But I'm glad that at least the nephew doesn't have an issue. So that's like one thing solved. But now we have to figure out the issue with the sister. But hey, I wish you the best, OP. Take it easy because sound like you got a lot going on and we don't want you having a heart event, a cardiac event, or anything like that. So just take it easy. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister move in and take my master bedroom because she had to break her lease? My female 22 sister, female 24, works fly in, fly out in the Australian mines, big money, for 5+, I'm guessing years. She's had many shared leases with people over the years. She's struggling to find a roommate at the moment. What is fly in, fly out in the Australian mines? I'm learning a lot on this video today. So fly in, fly out jobs are a cornerstone of Australia's mining industry, enabling access to remote mine sites. These schedules typically involve working set rosters on site, followed by designated rest periods at your chosen home base. So do they literally just fly in, work the mine, and fly out? Looks like it. Okay. Fly in, fly out is a method of employing people in remote areas by flying them temporarily to the work site instead of relocating. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Never heard that. About a month ago, we had a casual conversation about the idea of her staying at the place I'm renting with my partner, male 24. Important detail, me and my partner have separate rooms as we need our own space and it works for our sleeping schedules. Honestly, that is like my dream. I simply cannot have it any other way. A couple ideas were thrown around. I offered the spare room, which is very small and can only fit a bed. She proposed taking my master bedroom and offered to pay more, which means me and my partner would have to share, or one of us move into the tiny room. I said I would talk to my partner about this and get back to her. There ain't nothing to discuss. There would be no talking. There's nothing to discuss. You will sleep in the tiny room or you can sleep somewhere else. You're the one that needs it. As of a couple days ago, she told me the landlord is not allowing a second person. For context, I left abruptly from a toxic workplace and now on mental health leave. She straight up texted me, I don't want to stress you out more, but when can I move in? I told her I would sleep on it. Then the next day she texted 2 weeks to move in. I had a talk with my partner and we agreed it's better if she takes the spare bedroom as she's 2 weeks on her mining job and 1 week off. I called her and said she can have the spare bedroom. Then she had the audacity to say she's moving into my master bedroom because she will pay more. I said absolutely freaking not, because the room will be empty for 2 weeks at a time. And on top of that, she's unclean and untidy. My worry is she will leave my room disgusting. She did not take this well and said that I agreed to her taking my room, which didn't happen. Today, she blew up my phone with texts saying I'm petty for not letting her have my room and that she deserves luxuries. Is this your full-blooded sister? What is going on here? Also, she doesn't want to come home to a tiny room after living in one at work. I'm a young person who is finally living in my own place after being in a crappy living situation. Why does she feel entitled to take my room and disrupt my life for her convenience? I know she's my sister, and I understand her situation and feel for her, but this can't be the solution. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. And honestly, at this point, she wouldn't even be moving in, because I already told you you can have the tiny room, and then you insist on wanting to take the master room. That means once she moves in, she's not respecting any boundaries. I could see her being the type that one day, if you're gone running errands or something, she's completely swapped the rooms and moved her stuff into the master room and your stuff into the tiny room, and just causing issues. And then you said she's untidy, unclean, unorganized. I would not want to have someone like that in my space. I sympathize with her situation, but if this whole fly in, fly out is such big money, she should be able to find a place to rent by herself. Go on some local rent board sites like your version of Craigslist, if y'all have one, where she can find a roommate, because this wouldn't be this wouldn't. Now my sister, the sister who I currently have, of course she could stay with me, but this version of a sister, she wouldn't be staying with me. Dry Sandwich 860, this is not going to work. You know you'd be crazy to let her move in. Don't do it. She'll pull this drama every time she wants something. It will create problems in your relationship. Tell her it's not going to work. She will push back and tell her that the way she's behaving right now is a sign that it can't possibly work. You are on stress leave from work and can't have this at home. OP said, you're totally right. She's being entitled. I do feel bad about setting this boundary, even though I shouldn't. Yeah, not to mention you're on a mental health leave and you're going to invite this stress into your life. Not a good idea. Someone else said what I said, Cinnamon Blue, not the a-hole. You know, if you let her move in, she'll switch bedrooms when you're at work. P.S. She can't find a roommate. Ask yourself why. Ha! Exact thing that I was thinking. Liquor makes you sick. This is a preview of what's to come. If you let her move in, do not come crying to Reddit. Somebody says, speak for yourself. I have popcorn for the update post. And Livy Angel, absolutely not okay. Your sister is being an entitled brat. You and your partner even were kind enough to say she could stay with you, knowing you both have things to do and are busy individuals. Your physical, mental, and emotional health matter the most and are your top priority. Your sister has never been told no, it seems. You're not the a-hole, and your sister has no right to force you to let her in. So pretty much everyone is saying not the a-hole, and she does have an update. So here we go. Update/context. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister move in and take my master bedroom because she had to break her lease? Thanks for all the comments and validation. Really gave me some perspective. Here's the update. Just FYI, this is my partner's account as I don't have my own. My sister and I have had a rocky relationship since forever due to childhood trauma. I've cut her off many times due to this kind of disrespect and breaking of boundaries. I'm not perfect myself, but I want this relationship to work. It's not gonna work. This provides so much more context. That's why I was wondering, like, are they full-blooded siblings? Because I just feel like there's no way that this situation would happen with people who grew up together. Like, why would you treat your sibling like this? But it makes sense that they had childhood trauma, and she already has a history of disrespect and breaking boundaries. This is just a relationship that is not gonna work. You're gonna have to go low contact if you really want to keep the line of communication open. But our phone conversation ended in a screaming match where I stated she will only get the spare room, but she insisted it was unfair because she would pay more money. She later texted me a photo of a workmate holding up the middle finger with a text saying, name, said you are being petty. I texted back in the fashion many of you suggested. Tell him he's being a see you next Tuesday. You're a guest at my home. You're not taking the master bedroom. That'll be empty for 2 weeks. Sister, you cannot keep using the excuse it will be empty for 2 weeks. How the freak do you think I've had roommates before, and how anyone that does fly in, fly out has roommates before? Like I'm gonna go live in a small room for my break, as well as going back to work and living in a small room again. Like awesome, no luxuries, sweet. OP, you are not a roommate. I'm doing you a favor by letting you have a roof over your head for a short while. You don't get luxuries when it's your only option. Also, my luxuries get taken away in my home because you say so. You're very much out of touch with the average full-time young adult living in a stranger's room because that's their only option. Absolutely not fair. I finally have something to myself after 3 years of crap. Sister, girl, you aren't the very last and only option. LMAO, you're just the easiest. OP, okay then, my offer is off the table. Would I be the a-hole if I cut her off again? No. Actually, I recommend it. You would not be the a-hole if you cut her off again. She obviously hasn't learned her lesson and is continuing to be problematic. How you gonna say you're not the last option, or just the easiest? Well, go to your other options then. Why are you sitting in my text message thread arguing with me? Go text your other options. I was trying to help you out. Child, let me see if she has any update. If not, I'm done with this. Let's see. No, she didn't post any update yet. So with that being said, we're going to go to the very last read of this video. This will be a palette cleanser. This is going to be from the Malicious compliance subreddit, something to lighten the mood before we end this video. So make sure that you double check that you are subscribed, and I'll get into this last story. Principal told me to instruct courses I was not trained to teach or look for another job. So I did. I've been teaching for 6 years at my last school for 2 years. I have a BA in history and MA in education. My principal and administrative staff pulled me out of one of my classes during an intense lecture I was giving and ambushed me in the hallway to ask/tell me I was going to teach IB classes next year. For those unaware, international baccalaureate courses are intense classes for high school students that last from 1 to 2 years. These classes are intense, requiring what some teachers have said to be the time equivalent of a part-time job for them to plan and prepare, without additional pay and not part of my contract. For context, within the first 2 weeks of working at this school, I noticed the other side of the pendulum. The students with learning challenges were being pushed aside in order to achieve the principal's goal of becoming an elite IB school. I began advocating for these students and offered to teach co-taught classes with a special education teacher in order to help these students achieve. It was a great success, seeing many of my former troubled students actively being engaged in class, and through the grapevine, I was told I was one of their favorite teachers since I got them. After the first semester, I heavily petitioned the staff to allow me to teach more of these specialized classes across my department. Here's the deal. There was no change in curriculum, just in how I presented it to the shared class. Anyhow, the principal shot down my idea, but allowed me to continue with my lone class for the next year. Back to the present, after the ambush, I went home and talked it over with my wife. She is my rock and understood that I was troubled with the additional task of basically adding on an additional 15 hours of work a week to my schedule. She said, "Go with your heart." The next week, I scheduled a meeting with the principal. I told him I was unprepared to teach the IB course this year, but if he would give me this year to prepare the additional materials and create a curriculum, I would be good to go for the next. I also asked if there were any other additional classes he would like for me to put together to teach next year. He said, "No, teach this course next year or look for another job." I asked about additional co-taught courses for the shared students who were overlooked. He said they were not important. Oh no. I reminded him yet again I was currently working towards my PhD in history in order to teach college-level courses in high school so students could get dual credit and a jump on college and tech schools. He laughed at me and said, I quote, "None of the additional education you have taken since you started working here benefits the school at all. No one cares." Okay. This took the wind out of me. I love teaching. All of the additional work, time, and effort spent away from my family has been in order to be a better teacher, a better example for my students. I told him I would need to think about this and quietly left the room. I took the next day off, spending time with my family and speaking with my therapist. I am very lucky to have a wonderful support system. I went back to work after that, and there were a number of staff that spoke to me privately. They agreed what he said was shameful. They shared that I was not the only teacher he spoke to this way, from changing failing grades to passing, to having teachers sponsor multiple extracurricular clubs without pay. I went to my union rep and added my statement to his ever-growing pile of staff statements about the principal. I assured him I was willing to go to the school board, etc. Just give me a call. Yep, I decided I was done. I wrote the principal an outstanding resignation letter full of positivity and thanking him for the wonderful opportunity to work at his school and to have learned from his outstanding example of leadership. Outstanding is a perfect word. Did I also mention I forwarded the email to the entire staff? There was no way he could publicly respond negatively to my resignation, and he was furious. The majority of the staff knew what was going on. There were many smiles and fist bumps. I was told by the office staff later there were 5 other teachers that resigned, making this the biggest turnover in staff in a decade. The principal now has to go before the school board next month to explain what is happening at his school. I wonder if I'm gonna get a call. Great job, OP. A bit of malicious compliance. And you sound like a wonderful person. Someone who really cares about teaching and goes above and beyond to make sure that the students are really absorbing and understanding the information. Like, kudos to you. I love to see it. So I think that's a good note to end the video off on. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.